They're the deadliest thing on Earth. They suck your blood and spread disease, killing nearly 1 million people each year. Are we talking about vampires, lions, gorillas? Actually, none of these things. We're talking about mosquitoes. Are mosquitoes really this deadly? What would happen if they all disappeared? Would humanity be better off? This is what if, and here's what would happen if we killed all mosquitoes. It may sound unusual that a little bug could be this deadly, but it's true. Mosquitoes spread diseases like malaria, yellow fever, and the dengue virus. They do it by biting someone who has a particular disease and then biting you, injecting their saliva into your body. So, how do we get rid of these bugs? Well, first we have to figure out exactly how many mosquitoes there are in the world. That's incredibly difficult to find out. It's estimated that there are 7 trillion of them in Alaska alone. Yeah, that's right, Alaska. Due to global warming and ocean temperatures rising, mosquitoes can live in places like this now, and around the world there are trillions of other mosquitoes. There's a number of ways we could get rid of them. Bats eat mosquitoes without any risks. They can eat 600 mosquitoes in an hour. So, if we had enough bats, in theory, they could effectively wipe out mosquitoes all around the world. But then, how would we get rid of the billions of bats in the sky? Okay, maybe that's not the best idea. When you feel that familiar itch and see a mosquito feasting on your arm, you might assume it's simply because you're a tasty snack and they're hungry for your blood. But the truth is a bit more complex, and in a way, even more fascinating. Female mosquitoes aren't just feeding themselves when they bite us. They're actually collecting the nutrients they need to lay their eggs and ensure the survival of their next generation. In other words, every bite is really about their offspring, not about satisfying their own hunger. The blood they draw from us is packed with proteins and iron, which are essential for developing healthy mosquito eggs. After a blood meal, a female mosquito will seek out a quiet, stagnant pool of water, anything from a puddle to a bird bath, to lay her eggs. Soon, those eggs hatch into larvae and the cycle begins again. So if you ever wondered why mosquitoes seem so relentless, it's because they're driven by the need to reproduce and keep their species going. Now, you might joke about getting rid of all your blood to stop the bites, but that's obviously not a real solution. We've tried all sorts of ways to keep mosquitoes away, swatting, sprays, nets, and even staying indoors at dusk. But mosquitoes are persistent and their numbers can bounce back quickly, especially in warm, wet environments. That's why scientists are turning to innovative solutions like genetic modification to tackle the problem at its source. Instead of relying on repellents or pesticides, researchers are now breeding genetically modified male mosquitoes in the lab. These males are special. They don't bite humans, and they carry a gene that ensures any offspring they produce will be sterile. When these modified males are released into the wild, they mate with wild female mosquitoes. But here's the catch. The resulting eggs never hatch into adult mosquitoes. Over time, this means fewer and fewer mosquitoes are born, and the population starts to shrink. Since only female mosquitoes bite and the released males can't produce viable offspring, the biting population drops dramatically. Of course, this isn't an overnight fix. It could take years or even decades of carefully managed releases and monitoring to see a significant reduction in mosquito numbers. The process requires patience, persistence, and ongoing scientific oversight to make sure it's working as intended and doesn't have unintended consequences for the environment. But with enough genetically modified mosquitoes released over time, and with careful tracking of their impact, we could see a future where mosquito populations are dramatically reduced. This would mean fewer bites, less disease transmission, and a safer, more comfortable outdoor experience for everyone. Imagine stepping outside on a warm summer evening without the constant buzzing and biting of mosquitoes. Thanks to advances in genetic science, that vision could one day become a reality, one carefully released mosquito at a time. So now that they're gone, what would happen next? Well, millions of people wouldn't be getting sick and dying each year. You could actually enjoy being outside in the summer without any fear of being bitten, and honestly, animals would be much safer as well. Imagine a world where you could step outside on a warm summer evening, relax in your backyard, or go camping in the woods, all without the constant annoyance of mosquitoes buzzing around your head. It sounds almost too good to be true, right? But what if somehow all the mosquitoes on Earth simply vanished overnight? Would the world be a better place, or would we accidentally throw nature out of balance? It's a fair question. After all, We often hear about the importance of every creature in the circle of life and how removing even the smallest link can have unexpected consequences. Mosquitoes, despite being one of the most disliked insects on the planet, are still a part of this intricate web. So, what would really happen if they disappeared? It's true that mosquitoes are eaten by a variety of animals. Birds, bats, frogs, and even some fish and insects rely on mosquitoes as a food source, especially during certain times of the year when mosquito populations boom. For example, swallows and purple martins are known to snatch mosquitoes out of the air, while bats can eat hundreds of insects in a single night. However, when scientists have studied the diets of these animals, they've found that mosquitoes actually make up only a small fraction of what they eat. Birds and bats, for instance, prefer larger, more nutritious insects like moths, beetles, and flies. Frogs and fish also have a wide variety of prey to choose from in their habitats. So, while mosquitoes are on the menu, they're not a staple food for most of these creatures. If mosquitoes were to disappear, these animals would likely shift their diets to other available insects. Nature is incredibly adaptable, and most species are opportunistic feeders, able to survive on a wide range of foods. In fact, studies suggest that the absence of mosquitoes would have little to no long-term impact on the populations of birds, bats, frogs, or fish. These animals are resilient and would continue to thrive by eating other insects that are just as abundant, if not more so, than mosquitoes. But what about the role mosquitoes play as pollinators? It's true that adult mosquitoes, especially males, feed on nectar and can help pollinate certain plants. In some ecosystems, they do contribute to the pollination of wildflowers and even a few rare orchids. However, when compared to bees, butterflies, and even hummingbirds, mosquitoes are minor players in the pollination game. The vast majority of plants that rely on pollinators would continue to thrive without mosquitoes, as there are plenty of other insects and animals that do the job far more efficiently. So, while mosquitoes do have a place in the food chain and ecosystem, their absence would likely go unnoticed by most of nature. But still, is getting rid of mosquitoes the right thing to do? After all, we would be getting rid of an entire species. We should keep in mind that there are thousands of different species of mosquitoes, but only 6 of them bite us. Not only that, but there are some theories that mosquitoes may help to protect the Amazon rainforest. That's because they're so deadly and annoying to the people trying to cut down the rainforest that at times, the bugs actually prevent them from doing so. Let's take a moment to really think about the world we live in today. Every year, the human population grows by millions, and cities are expanding at a pace that's hard to even comprehend. Skyscrapers rise, new neighborhoods sprawl out, and everywhere you look, there are more people than ever before. It's a sign of progress, sure, but it also brings up some big questions about how we share our planet and its resources. Now, here's a wild thought. What if mosquitoes, as annoying as they are, actually play a role in keeping our population in check? It sounds strange, but when you consider that mosquitoes are responsible for spreading diseases like malaria, dengue, and Zika, you start to see how they've shaped human history. These tiny insects have influenced where people live, how communities develop, and even how we approach public health. In a way, they've been an invisible force, quietly affecting the balance of life on Earth. But let's be honest, if mosquitoes suddenly disappeared, most of us would celebrate. Imagine summer evenings without itchy bites or outdoor adventures without the constant buzzing in your ear. It would be a huge relief, and for many people it would mean a safer, healthier life. The risk of deadly diseases would drop dramatically, and we could enjoy the outdoors without fear. It almost sounds too good to be true. With fewer diseases to worry about, more children would grow up healthy, and families could thrive in places that were once too dangerous. Hospitals would see fewer cases of mosquito-borne illnesses, and doctors could focus on other health challenges. The benefits would ripple through society, improving quality of life for millions. It's hard to imagine many downsides to a world without mosquitoes, at least for us humans. But let's flip the script for a second. What if instead of mosquitoes vanishing, half of Earth's human population disappeared in an instant? The impact would be unimaginable. Cities would empty out, entire communities would vanish overnight, and the world as we know it would be changed forever. The challenges of overpopulation would be replaced by a whole new set of problems: loneliness, loss, and the struggle to rebuild. But that's a story for another episode of What If. For now, let's just be grateful that the world, with all its challenges and annoyances, including mosquitoes, is still full of life, hope, and endless possibilities. Music.